Now, as I said before, the NMAP is a really important tool that you will use all the time, so it is essential for you to at least learn some of the basics of that program. Now, before we begin, I want to say that NMAP, it is a network mapper. It is basically a free and open source tool, mostly used for vulnerability scanning and network discovery. You can also use the NMAP to identify some of the devices or all of the devices that are running on your local network, also as discovering hosts that are on or offline at the moment and discovering services they offer on some of the ports that they have open. And also you can go as far as discovering what version of software are they running on their open ports. Now, NMAP can be used to scan multiple hosts. It doesn't have to be only one host that you scan. It is basically working by just sending the raw packets to the system ports. Now, as it does that, it basically listens to responses and determines whether the ports are closed or open, or filtered in some way, for example, with a firewall. Now, you can use different types of protocols. In NMAP, you can use TCP, UDP, ICMP, and SCTP. Now, as I said before, NMAP is a network mapper. It can also be used to detect the operating system that is running on the machine that you're scanning, and also discover the vulnerabilities if there are for that particular version of the software they're running on an open port. Now, a system, your and my PC, can have 65,535 TCP and UDP ports, but NMAP will by default only scan the most commonly used 1,000 ports. Now you can change that as well, so you can scan all the 65,000 ports, but it will probably take a lot longer than the regular 1,000 ports. Now, before we begin using NMAP, I just want to show you, first of all, how you can run it, which is basically just open your terminal in Kali Linux. It is already pre-installed in it, and you can just type here NMAP. Now, you will see that it will print out a bunch of the options that we will cover, but before we do that, I just want to give you a more detailed explanation on the IP addresses, because you will be using them extensively in here. Now, with an IP address, if you know someone's IP address, you can basically do a lot with it. For example, let's open up our Firefox and let us type right here the major IP. You will click on the first website that this one opens, and we'll basically just copy any IP address that we find, and we will try to find out the most information we can about that IP. So let me just load up the website. Here we go. Now click on the first one, which is major IP addresses blocks by country, dash Nearsoft. So it is on the Nearsoft website. Here you can basically click any country you want. Let's go with the Australia. Not really a smart choice since it is the most far away country from me, but and here just pick any IP address you want. Let's say I pick this one, which is 14.192.160.0. If I copy this IP address and I go to my terminal, let me just clear the screen right here, and I use a tool called NSLookup. As you can see, with this tool, I will need to specify the IP address that I just copied, which is this one, and it should return the name of that web server in return. So if I type here, right here, it will say server can find. Okay, so it cannot find that one. Not a big deal. Let us just copy the other one and check if that one works instead. So we just paste the other IP address and it won't work. Now, let me just show you on the IP address that will work for sure. So if you type here nslookup google.com, it will return the Google's IP address with this command, as you can see right here, the address of Google will be 172.217.19.110. Now you can do the same in reverse. So if you type here ns lookup, and instead of typing the google.com, you type here the IP address of google.com, you will see in return what is the name of that IP address. Now this is taking some time. Let us just wait a little bit before we close it. It says timeout, so let me try it once again. So ns lookup, and then I paste here the IP address of Google. Yeah, it will probably time out once again. So let me just type here ns lookup, and let's try facebook.com. Here we can see that the Facebook's IP address is 32.13.84.36. So let's try in reverse. So let me just type here ns lookup and then the Facebook's IP address, and hopefully it will return the facebook.com in the output. No, weird, because it says no servers could be reached. Let me just try to ping it. Maybe, but we are on the internet, so it should work. Not really sure why it doesn't work at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. Instead, we can try other command, which can be also used to get some of the informations from an IP address. Now, that tool that we will use is called curl. Now, for example, let me show you. If you type here curl IP info, let me just see, yeah, .io, and then slash. Let me just find the slash. Where is it? There it is. And then you paste the Facebook's IP address right here, and you click on it. You press enter. Basically, it will say that the IP that we typed here, host name is facebook.com, city not specified, region not specified, country is specified, and location is also given in coordinates. Organization, as it says right here, is Facebook. So, since ns lookup didn't work, we will use curl. So let me just look up the Google's IP address once again, so we can see the curl command with the Google's IP address. So let me just type here curl ipinfo.io and then slash, and then you type here the Google's IP address. And as you can see, we also get the host name, we also get the organization, Google, location, also given in the coordinates, and the country, US. So let us just now choose any of these IP addresses right here, but let's not go with the Australia, let's go with the Belgium. And here, we just copy any IP address, let's copy this one. Let me try the ns lookup, maybe it will work right now. Probably not, but let's give it one more try. Server can find, okay, doesn't matter. We will go on with the curl. So we copy the random IP address that we do not know anything about, and we just type here ipinfo.io slash, and then we paste the IP address that we copied, which should belong to Belgium. So as we see right here, we are given the IP, the city, the region, the country, location, also given in the coordinates, postal code, organization, which we can confirm since it says for this IP address right here that the MAC Telecom, and we get the same result right here. Now, you can see that you can find a lot of stuff with simply just looking up the IP address. And there is also one more thing you can do in the search engine. You can just type here IP locator. And we can use the same IP address that we copied from here, which is this one, 80.91.144.0, and we will just pick the first site, which will hopefully locate our IP address. If we type here paste, and we go on the IP lookup, we can see right here that we get the location of the IP, which is Belgium, and it is correct. We also get the latitude and longitude, which we can check if it matches this one. So let us just go down here. It is the same, basically it is the same in every decimal. So this program is working. So let me just see if we can check out on a map where it is located, but we can just simply go on any Google map and just type here these coordinates and we will find out where this IP address is physically located. Now that we saw what we can do with the IP addresses, we can open up our NMAP for now on. So if you just type here NMAP, you will see again a bunch of those options, but we will start off with these examples right here. So as you can see right here, they put an example nmap -v-a scanme.nmap.org. Now it is important to mention that nmap scanning on the device you do not own or do not have permission to scan is illegal in most of the countries, I believe. So you should not be scanning any website or any device that you do not have permission to scan. And it can also be very noisy, so you can be caught by firewall. So you are not anonymous with this, especially not with the basic commands. Now later on we can cover how to be more quiet while using NMAP and scanning, but you should only be doing it if you have permission to scan to. Now if you go on to this website, you will notice that if we copy it, let me just open Firefox once again, and we will paste that website, you will see that they give us the permission to use that website in order to practice with NMAP. So let us just wait for this to load up, and it should be prompting us with a message that will basically said, go ahead and scan me, as you can see right here. So here it says, hello and welcome to scanme.nmap.org. We set up this machine to help folks learn about NMAP and also to test and make sure that their NMAP installation is working properly. You are authorized to scan this machine with NMAP or other port scanners. Try not to hammer on the servers too hard. A few scans in a day is fine, but don't scan 100 times a day. Or use this site to test your SSH brute force password cracking tool. So we basically have permission to scan this. Now don't overscan it, as it says right here, don't scan it over 100 times a day. Basically you can scan it a few times a day. So we will just type here nmap -v -a scanme.nmap.org. But before we run this command, I just want to check out or to show you what does -v and -a do. Now -a, as we can see right here, enable OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. While -v, I'm not sure if it is even listed here. It possibly is and possibly not. Here it is, increase verbosity level. It basically means it will print out what it is doing in the process of scanning. So if you type here -vb, it will print out even more information in the process of scanning. Now, we won't be using any of these options at the moment. We will just type here nmap scanme.nmap.org. And this can take time. Any scan can take time from few seconds to multiple hours, depending of multiple things, such as the speed of your connection and also the location of the target that you're scanning, and also the number of targets that you're scanning. As we said before, you can scan multiple targets with nmap, and that will take longer than scanning just one target. If you just press the arrow upwards right here, we can see what percentage of scan is finished. So we can see that 7.4% is done, and here it will give us an information that one host is. So for example, if you were to scan 100 hosts and here it says 22 hosts up, it means that the nmap retrieved 22 hosts to be online or up and working. Now, as you can see, the nmap scan result is finished, and here we see a bunch of ports. Some of them are filtered and some of them are open. As we said, the filtered ones could be protected in some of the way, such as with a firewall, while the open ones are basically just open, such as HTTP. As we saw basically when we visited this website, we basically use the HTTP port, which is open, so we were able to connect to this website. There are other ports that are also open, such as SSH port, which is the 22 always, TCP port. You can see some of the hard ports open, such as 9929 and 31337, which is for Elite, and nping-echo, and other ports are just filtered. So this is just a basic scan with NMAP. We will continue with some of the more advanced scans in the next lecture, and I hope I see you there. Bye. In the previous one, I basically just show you what you can do with an IP address and what information you can gather only by knowing someone's IP address. And we also ran a simple scan on the NMAP scanme.org website, which basically allows us to do the scan there, so you should only be scanning either that site or any machine you do own, since NMAP scans could be illegal in your country. Also, before we begin, I just want to, let me just type here once again NMAP to show all the available options. Let me perform the same scan we did before, which is just NMAP scanme.nmap.org. And basically, if you wanted to, for example, write this to a file, you just specify two arrows right here, and then we call the file results.txt, for example. Now, this will take, as previous time, a few seconds, and it won't give us the output right here. It will basically save all of the output into a results.txt file. So it is useful if you, for example, run this scan for multiple hours and you don't need to keep the terminal open in order to see the scan. You can just basically save it into a file and you can access it anytime and anywhere. So you don't, for example, run a scan on multiple hosts and run it for 5 hours and then you accidentally close the terminal and basically the entire scan is lost and you need to redo it once again. So as you can see right here, the scan has finished and it hasn't given us any output. So I can just clear the screen and type here ls. And as you can see right here, we have the results.txt file. If we cat that results.txt file, we will get the same output that we got in the previous video with our results printed out into this file. Now, since we know that, we can delete this file right now and we can type here nmap once again. Now, I won't be scanning the scanme.nmap.org anymore. I will be scanning basically my Windows machine right now. So you can continue scanning this site. You can also scan the Metasploitable that we installed in the previous lectures. And you can also scan your host machine. Now, let me just show you. You can also scan yourself if we just check our IP address right here. 192.168.1.6 and you type here 192.168.1.6. I don't believe any port. Yeah, all ports, all 1000 scan ports are closed. So on this Kali Linux virtual machine, I'm not having any port open, and that should be on yours as well, for now on at least. And as I said in the previous video, the NMAP only scans the top 1000 used ports. So if you want to, for example, specify the number of ports you want to scan, or for example, you want to scan all 65,000 ports, let me just find the option. Here it is, port specification and scan order. We can do that with -p. So how we do that? Well, basically, we just type here nmap -p, and then we type here 1 to 65,000. And we can just do 65,000, or we can do all 65,535. I believe that's how many there are. And then we specify again our own IP address, and this will take longer to finish, but instead of scanning only 1000 ports, it will scan all 65,535 ports. And it will finish relatively fast since we are scanning ourselves, and it only finished in 1.5 seconds. So now we won't be scanning ourselves anymore since there is no point. So let me just find out what the IP address of my Windows machine is. So I will type here in my command prompt ipconfig, and the IP address of my host machine is 192.168.1.4. So I will just type here nmap 192.168.1.4, And let's see how fast this will finish. It shouldn't take too much of our time. So let me just check here. Alright, it will finish. And we can see there are a few ports open right here. The NetBIOS, SSN, Microsoft DS, and MS RPC, which are these three ports. They are all three open. As you can see, they're all over TCP. Now, for example, let's scan again my host machine. But right now, let us scan all 65,000 ports. So 65,535, I believe that's the maximum number of ports. And we type here the IP address of our Windows machine. Now, let me just... Oh yes, I only specified that this should scan this port. I should specify a range of ports, so 1-65,535. And we press here enter. Now this will take a little bit longer than the 1000 port scan, so let us see where it is right now. Yeah, it is only on 4%. You can check out the process of scan with the upper arrow. If you didn't specify right here the -V, which stands for the verbose, which will basically just print you this right here as it goes with the scan. I didn't specify it, so it doesn't print anything before the scan. So let me just show you. We will finish this so we don't wait until it's over. So let me just put here, so let's just type NMAP once again, and we can see right here that the -V command stands for increase verbosity level, use double V, which is basically -VV, in order to see more details. So let's run the same command, but with 1000 ports. So let me just type here nmap 192.168.1.4 and basically just double V. So here you can see that as it goes with the scan, it prints out the information, and at the end it prints out the same thing that it printed out before. So here we can see as it went, it concluded that there is one host that is up, and as it discovered the open ports, it printed out for us. Now, this can be useful if you want to find out open ports on a host that will take an hour to scan, or for a range of hosts. So let me just show you how you can scan a range of hosts. For example, let's scan your entire local network. You can see right here that the second command in the examples shows us how to specify the range of hosts. So as you can see right here, 192.168.0.0/16. This will basically scan the first 16 hosts in the local network. Now, we know in my local network, since my subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, there are only 255 hosts available, so we will just specify all of them. Let me just type here nmap, and then we'll type here 192.168.1.1/255. And let us just put here the F, the capital F, which stands for basically doing this scan faster, so we do not waste a lot of time. So let me just press enter right here. Now let me just check once again, since this didn't work. Maybe I specified wrong. Well, basically gave me some error. Let me just redo this command, but not like this. Let me just type here instead of /- so right now it should work. But let's also add the option verbosity, so it prints us everything as it goes. We can see that it actually finished relatively fast. That is probably because we specified right here the -F option, which basically makes the scan finish faster. And we can see that all of these hosts are down. We can see that between these two there was one that is up, which is .15. That is my laptop that is currently running. So as we go down here, it should we found our router. Here it is. So 192.168.1.1. It also found our Windows host machine, which is my current Windows 10 machine as my host operating system. As you can remember, here are the 3 open ports on my host machine. It found my laptop, which only has the Apache 2 running on the HTTP port over TCP. And it also found our virtual machine, which is 192.168.1.6, which has none of the ports open. So the NMAP result finished with 255 IP addresses scanned, and 4 hosts were up, scanned in 6.06 seconds. Now, let's also, for example, if you want to write that into a file, you can do that with the double arrow command and also into the results.txt. As we saw in the previous video, it won't give you any output, but it will write your scan into the results.txt file, so you don't have to redo the scan once again later if you close the terminal. So it should finish in a few seconds, I believe, and we will have a file with all 255 machines scanned. As you can see, it has finished, and if we get the results.txt, we will get the same output as in the previous scan. Now, this is about it for this lecture. We will continue with some of the more aggressive scans and more specified and detailed scans in the next lecture, which will also be NMAP. We will cover how to get the version of a software running on a specific port. For example, we will find out how to get the version of my Apache 2 on my laptop, which is running over HTTP. As you can see right here, we don't get the version specified, but it is an important option because it allows us to find out the version of a software which can be used in order for us to find out any vulnerabilities for that particular software. So I hope I see you in the next lecture, and take care.